Hello there, welcome to the bunker. It's time for another voicemail. Today's voicemail is from an anonymous caller. Let's hear what they have to say.
Hey, Mr. Evans. I'm a Jehovah's Witness from the United States, PIMO. I just want to say thank you for your videos, and your content in general. It's very helpful, and it's one of the only things I listen to on YouTube. I wanted to ask about what your thoughts are on making amends with family members and not necessarily leaving for those family members. My parents are currently completely in the organization, and they're getting elderly, and I don't want to leave them by leaving the organization because I know they would shun me. So up until now, I was planning to just be inactive and not leave completely, but this is also causing some problems for them because they feel, and they've told me before that they feel that because of my distancing away from the organization, that I've been somehow, ruining their reputation. And especially my father, who's an elder, might have to quit his duties because of me, or at least get removed because I'm not doing so well spiritually in that sense. But I just wanted to know what your thoughts were on making amends emotionally with family members. Because for right now, all they're very focused on with me is trying to get me back spiritually. And all they seem to want to talk to me about is to reindoctrinate me. And it makes me feel hurt sometimes because I just want to get across that I want them to care about me as their daughter. I want them to love me as their daughter and not worry about what my spiritual beliefs are or that I'm an atheist or any of that. I just want them to be happy for me. And it hurts a lot when all they want is for me to be in the organization, even though they knew that I was never happy in it. So how do I get this across to them? How do I make amends so that, since I'm ultimately going to stay because I want to take care of them and I want to keep in contact with them, even though I'm not mentally in the organization anymore, how do I make amends with them and make them want to be with me and put all their spiritual worry aside? But anyways, thank you so much.
Well, that was a heartbreaking message, and I might add that I do receive voicemails from minors quite a bit, and I have a policy on this channel of not including content from minors or interviewing minors without parental consent. In this case, I have no way of knowing whether it is a minor or not. It could just be someone with a voice where they sound very young. You do sound very young, but you could, for all I know, be 18, 19, 20 and just have a young sounding voice. So I've decided on this occasion to include the message. And I think that your situation is an extremely difficult one and one that's worthy of discussion. And if my message to you can be of help to others in your situation, including those who are minors, who I can't have on the channel, then it will be worthwhile. But yes, difficult situation. And there were a few things that you said that troubled me. You are very anxious to make amends. You say you don't want to leave them, your parents, which when you say you don't want to leave them, it indicates that you're living with them and you don't want to move out, essentially. You say that your father is an elder and is considering stepping down because you are ruining his reputation. You want to make them want to be with you, I think is what you said. It's just not how it works. You can't force people to respect you and love you for who you are. There's no magic thing that you can say to them. There's no secret phrase or piece of information where you just plop it in front of them and suddenly they will start loving you unconditionally and respecting you for who you are. Unfortunately, you're in a toxic situation. If I were in your shoes, if I were, let's say, a teenager who had woken up and I were living in a house with parents who were demanding that I be in their religion, or as you put it, trying to reindoctrinate me, I would be planning an escape. I would be strategizing. And here's the thing, it doesn't have to happen overnight, doesn't have to happen this year or even next year. But what you could do with doing is just figuring out where you want to be when you're old enough to leave. When I say where you want to be, I mean in terms of your life. What do you want to be doing? Do you want to stay in this situation where people are trying to reindoctrinate you and insisting that you conform to their beliefs? Or do you want to start out on your own and build a life where you're surrounded by people who love and respect you for who you are? It's possible. It may seem impossible at the moment, especially when you're young, especially when you're a teenager, and I don't know whether you are a teenager, but especially when you're a teenager, it can just seem impossible. How on earth do I do the whole adulting thing in Satan's system of things when Satan's system, I've been taught my whole life, is just corrupt and doesn't work, and people are out to get you around every corner? It's not that way. It just isn't like that. You can succeed, but you'll need to be clever. There's the verse, cautious like serpents, innocent like doves. You need to line all the pieces together in advance so that when the time comes, you can make your move and they can't stop you. So it sounds like you've already faded. It might be a case of figuring out what's the bare minimum that you need to do to keep your parents off your back just long enough for you to sort out your education, if that's a possibility, sort out a well-paying job, and sort out some accommodation so that you can again flee the nest and start out on your own. You may be years away from doing that, but there are things that you can do now by investigating what schemes, what initiatives are available locally in terms of education, what employment opportunities are there locally, are there any housing schemes that you can sign up for where there's perhaps a waiting list, so that when it comes to your turn on the waiting list, you're at that point where you can make your move. I don't know what the exact parameters are of your situation. I don't know, again, how old you are. But if I were you, I would be planning and plotting to get myself the hell out of the extremely toxic situation you have described. And don't get me wrong, I understand your concerns. You love your parents. They may not love you unconditionally, but you love them unconditionally, and you want to care for them because they are elderly. It's not your responsibility to care for them because they're elderly. Or to put it another way, it's certainly not your responsibility to care for them because they're elderly if they are making it impossible for you to live with them, because they are placing impossible demands on you to the point of demanding you to convert to their religion. In that situation, I'm sorry to say you have zero responsibilities towards them. Just because they brought you into the world, just because they happen to be your nearest blood relatives, your mother and father, it's possible for a mother and father to be completely unreasonable towards you as their daughter, to the point where, quite frankly, you should be away from them. You shouldn't be around them. You should be thinking about carving out a life for yourself, rather than feeling as though you're in some way indebted to people who are treating you in such a toxic way. But just to go back to what I was saying, and just to emphasize this point, because I am aware that young people watch this channel, and I'm constantly heartbroken when I see comments from teenagers, some who are impossibly young, some saying, oh, I'm 9 years old, what do? I see those comments, I really do, and it's heartbreaking. I can't imagine how difficult it would be to be awake to the fact that this is a cult as a kid, with your parents demanding that you follow them and join their religion. And I can only emphasize again, be clever, be cunning, be crafty. Tell them what they need to hear if necessary to get yourself the hell through that situation on a day-by-day, month-by-month, year-by-year basis. Because unfortunately, the way things are, you are more than likely dependent on them, at least for the next few years, or however long it is, until you reach that point where everything's lined up and you can leave. While you are dependent on them, don't feel as though you're like a fraud or a con artist if you tell them what they need to hear and play their game, because you have been put in an impossible situation where it's an existential thing, and you literally need to be thinking about, how do I have food and shelter for the next few years if I'm not in this household and if I'm not in this family? As heartbreaking as it is, can I just tell them what they need to hear for the next few years and do the bare minimum just to get myself through this situation, just to navigate it in some way, shape or form? And the other thing I would stress is, you are not on your own in that situation. There are so many resources coming available. Just one example is the organization Recovering from Religion, but there are more. Dig around online and see what communities you can covertly sign up to. Just knowing that you're not alone, just being able to communicate with your peers and with people who've been in your situation will give you the strength that you need to make it through this trying period. And hopefully you can use this time to, again, engineer all your pieces into position and start building the community, the social fabric that you're going to need to rely on when you do eventually break free from your parents' control. I hope I've expressed all that clearly. It does genuinely trouble me when I hear these stories. And again, I don't know how old you are, caller. It could be that you're already at a point where, in terms of age and in terms of finances, in terms of employment, you can make the jump already. You're just tethered to this idea that you owe your parents something, even though they are treating you so appallingly. I think what you need to do is have a period of deep introspection and think very carefully as to whether you really owe them what you think you owe them, and whether you need to be jumping through hoops to the point of putting your mental health in danger just to appease their delusional expectations. But that's all I have to say on this particular voicemail. If you would like to leave a voicemail, the thing to do is scamper on over to speakpipe.com/Cedars, leave a message, but whatever you do, make absolutely clear in no uncertain terms if you don't want me to play your message on my channel or comment on it publicly. But that's all I have for you. Don't forget to subscribe to the Lloyd Evans channel for more such videos. And as always, thank you for watching.